hell is that?
Waylay is like, think of bandits waylaid him.
Yeah, still not.
Okay, they attacked him while he was on his way to somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they were laying in wait, and then when he came by, they got in his way.
Welcome to Flash Fiction Live, where Natalie is learning new words. One of the words, in case you were wondering, is waylay. As I type up the rest of these to go in the little thingamajig at the bottom.
Good morning. How is everybody doing? That's how I explain things when I'm tired.
Don't judge us. We've all done it.
And apparently I've got the tired giggles, so that's good. And Dobby's been dive bombing me this morning.
Makes me think of when I was in Spanish class. And the little things that I would use to remember the words. My friend and I were like, asiento means seat because your ass goes in your seat. And I still remember that to this day. Like, it's been 15 years or more. Because technically I stopped doing Spanish after sophomore year, so it's been more. But I'm just like, why do I have these little, moments? Like, asiento means, like, what the hell?
Can we talk about how I tried to use a word to define itself? Good morning, Michael. How are you? I just asked you that in the chat, but now I'm saying the words out loud.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Dandy. That's a word I haven't seen in a while. Looking forward to some terrific flashes. Will you be writing with us today? Would you like an orange tabby cat?
It makes me think a little bit about the Olsen twins, like their little music career when they were kids, and it was Brother for Sale.
I never watched them or saw their music. I kind of missed that, but I watched more of their movies, but I wasn't into music very much yet at the time.
Yeah, I wasn't into it. This was like their young stuff when it was like Mary-Kate and Ashley Detective Service, and they solved crimes at the age of 7. Yeah, but apparently I watched a documentary about it, and they were actually very attuned to detail, because they would gotta turn my TV on. When they would do takes, they would go, "Hey, the briefcase was in your left hand before, and now it's in your right," and they would fix things like that on set. I'm like, you're 7 and you're that attuned. Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
I would be like, snacks. Does anybody have snacks?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
My God.
I have coffee. I need to drink it, but it's too hot. I'm sad.
Oh. Okay. I'm going to say something that's not going to make me popular, but it's fine. I'm kind of annoyed with my daughter and her friends because they're at the age where they kind of be so girls kind of turn into little boys a little bit when they're teenagers or close to teenagers, because they do things going, hey, this is fun, I'm gonna break stuff or whatever.
Oh, like that boys do at earlier age.
Yeah, so my son does it, but they took this streamer and tied knots all through it. I know my son didn't do that. There's no way my son did that. So I'm like,
that's kind of a funny way to put it, of that's something that little boys usually do when they're probably 7.
Well, yeah. Actually, I feel like they do it their whole life, but girls do it
just for that time period.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think I ever really did that.
I did a little cause and effect and stuff. I remember we had this fake or model ship or something on the mantle. So one day I decided to fill up the tub to make it float, and I put it in there and it floated. Or I was waiting to put it in there and it floated. But I wanted the tub to be a good fill, and I'm too like lazy to just sit there and watch the tub fill. So I forgot about the tub filling and left the water running. And then I ended up coming back to it, and it was pouring over into the bathroom. So I had to fix that. But yeah, the model ship did float and stuff. So I was home alone. Complete chaos. Like, they're just lucky that like my pyro side wasn't completely chaos, in the sense of that I at least respected fire and took care of my candles.
Michael said that's now not a streamer, but with a K.
Yeah.
LOL. Michael's gonna be doing playing some Zelda, seeing what we come up with. So I have been watching and reading like some Reddit threads, or like some, I wouldn't say quite.
Oh, those
drama.
like, yeah, like am I the asshole type stuff.
I read that a lot, and then I also I watch Abba and Preach sometimes, because they have interesting takes on like social media goings on. And they have some really interesting topics that are brought up, because they're looking at stuff that other content creators do, or like other videos that have come out, and they're kind of reviewing. Hi, SC Houston. How are you? Good morning.
Hey, dear. Oh, man.
And
you ever get to a 9, you just go, nope.
You need a needle, or like a pin, a straight pin.
Yeah.
And then, that's right, it's Shannon. I don't know. I always look at the handle and just read that, and then I'm like, I feel like I know this person's name.
But you were saying I had it for a second there.
Oh yeah, what
Reddit.
Yeah. Right. And I've been getting a lot of ideas for like social situations from stuff like that, because I feel like a lot of time my imagination is in some regards limited by the things I'm like, that's crazy. Nobody would ever do that. I would never do that. And hi, Laura, how are you? Good morning. And then just see something that someone has done on like the Am I the Asshole thread, or in a commentary from another content creator, and you're like, that is truly diabolical, and I would never have come up with that on my own. But
life is stranger than fiction.
And now I have material. So I mean, I've gotten a lot of inspiration from that thread for like villains, and like either villains or stuff that characters do that it's like that wasn't ideal.
I actually got an idea for a flash fiction, and I finally got to use my Spencer. Please stop, Spencer. I finally got to use my water safe paper that I have in the shower, and write the notes down, and I have it with me somewhere. Yeah, and my idea, huh?
That's so cool. Like, you finally got to test it out.
Yeah. Like before, because this still has test written in the corner. So I did a test, but then I've actually used it. It served its purpose. And I wrote down a whole bunch of ideas, and I actually got 2 ideas. One was like maybe doing a poem. And because the phrase broken intentions stood out to me, because you don't want a cliche of broken promises. And promises sound like you actually made an effort, you said something, but then they say, well, it's the intent that matters, or that thought that matters. And I feel like having broken intention seems more internal, like it was broken even before it came out of your mouth.
I like that.
So that was one image that came in. And then the other one was this idea of somebody either walking along or whatever, and they keep on seeing these bad situations and misjudge who the villain is. Like a guy kicking a girl out of his apartment, and she's crying and everything, but it turns out she was manipulating him and controlling him and for years, and he finally stood up for himself. But at first glance, you're thinking, "Oh my God, that guy is horrible."
Mm-hmm.
And so that I wanted a scenes like that in one person, kind of misjudging the situation really, multiple times. Then, and that I was inspired by. There's this movie. It's got Jennifer Garner. I forget the movie. It's like Miracle or something like that, where this little girl ends up getting like cancer or something like that. I think of the brain, like to the point where she has the
My
tube in
Sister's
her nose.
Keeper?
No. But I know she had a tube in her nose. It's a religious movie too.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah. It's a little bit religious, which I can work past that and everything. Just because there's other ideas there. So what are you doing?
Ooh,
Don't put that from the wall.
Shannon, I do like that new intro.
I need to watch this new intro. Please don't pull anything.
Oh no, it's just like whenever she's jumping into chat, like what she
oh, nice. So the God, where was I? Oh, so this little girl, the thing that happened is like throughout, like the parents had to, like in the middle of the night, take their daughter to the hospital, call a friend to come and like watch their other kids. To please stop. These are my special little things. Leave them alone. I'll work it later. And like just all these things that came into play during this horrific time where their daughter they had no clue what was wrong with her and stuff like that. And at the end of the movie, she's at church speaking about like, don't forget the little miracles. Like yes, at the end of the movie, sorry, I'm gonna ruin it, but I've also given the name, so I forget. But at the end of the movie, the girl fell down an empty tree hollow and hit her head just right, at just the right angle that she didn't die. And all of a sudden, that thing that was making her sick, the cancer, whatever, gone somehow. And so it was like, oh, that's the miracle. But in the woman's speech, she was like, no, there was miracles all along. And it cuts back to the scene of the friend saying, yes, go to the hospital, you're fine. And then the friend who was coming to take care of her kids goes back to her own car and grabs her own baby out of the car seat and her own kids. And it just showing like how these people were dealing with other stuff, but they still reached out and took care of each other. And it was that the miracles of taking care of each other. The dad had wanted to go visit the mom and daughter, like his daughters wanted to go visit the mom and daughter who were in like another state for treatment. And his card was getting declined. So the attendant, the flight, not the flight attendant, but the person at the desk or whatever, swiped the card. She totally pretended that if the card went through when it didn't, and just like let them go, and was like, "Oh, like the system just crashed. We'll get this on the back end," even though she knew it would be declined, and they didn't have the money and stuff. Like just things like that, where I'm like, I like that second look when you look deeper. It kind of makes me think of Paul Harvey, and now the rest of the story for anybody who's that old.
Laura has the first paragraph of Nightfall. I'm currently drafting for a new short story collection. I'm super excited about it. They shimmer into existence when night falls, illuminated by the stars. The night terrors. The first time I saw them, I thought it was a horrible nightmare hanging on in wakefulness. After all, I had been dreaming about them since I went to bed early. I like it.
And then she said, the ragged creatures, those humanoids of shadow and teeth, who stand at the base of my bed staring. Their eyes are bulging and cracked, yet gouged with fissures. I've never seen that word written down. I think it's fissures.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, what's
Hi,
cool?
Richard.
What's cool about her writing series there is that they all have a theme of fall or falling, and the first one is nightfall.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
We are excited. Are we about ready for the first sprint?
Yes. So I am going to post in chat for any. Nope. That's the StreamYard link. Hold on. Let me go back to. All right. I still got to create my.
Morning,
thing.
Nicole. How are you?
Edit. All right. So prompt number 1 is. There we go. Whatever. All right. So prompt number 1 is a coup at a secret base. Words to include are desert, waylay, pensive, gazillions, juniper, helicopter, lotus, captain, bandana, and taco. Great. I'm going to be hungry.
That was actually not kind of them.
Yeah. So gazillions, it's always seemed like a juvenile word to me, like something that a kid says, not an adult. An adult usually goes, it's about 300. It's about, we say about. We usually don't embellish to the point and say gazillions.
I embellish a lot. So much. Hi, cool gamer. I know what you mean, but then I was just like, I am a large child.
Well, yeah, okay. You and I still giggle when when the number 69 comes up ever. Okay. But at the same time, when it comes to describing something, of course, I think of describing something serious. But if I was relaying a story to you and I'm like, oh my God, there was a gazillion mosquitoes outside, it would have a different connotation. But for me, this prompt saying a coup at a secret base is a serious thing, which therefore I feel like an adult would not use the word gazillions. So maybe I'd have to use it at the beginning. What did Laura say?
Form the Lotus Taco Formation. Head out to the helicopter. I love it so much.
Wait, did I say lotus? Oh my God. So I said lotus, and in my head, I saw locust for some reason. Like, it's right on the screen. It's lotus. But for some reason, even though I read it out loud, I thought locust. And I was like, maybe I can put a plague on these people and say a gazillion locusts. Like
a plague of lotus.
That would actually be very tranquil, right?
It would be. Unless you're allergic to them.
Touche.
That could be fun.
That would be the coup. Your body is revolting against you.
Yeah, that could be.
Oh my God! That new name for autoimmune disorders, coup. Immune coup or something, or like, I don't know.
I like it. We'll play with it.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Are we doing this? Is it happening?
We're doing this. Not quite ready, but it's kind of like you just got to dive in.
Yeah.
At a certain point. So, and I got to grab my kid breakfast. So this is going to be a juggling situation.
I'm like, I'm out of eggs. I've been eating scrambled eggs and cheese, and I ate all of my eggs and cheese. Well, I have cheese, but no eggs. Anyway, yeah, I don't really care about that. I'm just.
No, I know I got Pop-Tarts. I'm going to grab those. Technically, I usually skip breakfast, but it feels like a morning where I should have breakfast.
Right. I'm same.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to get on this sprint so we can get snacks is basically what we're saying.
Exactly.
We will begin in 3, 2, and 1.
I always play "Where's My Mouse" at the end of those. I'm waving it around. I'm like, where is it? Come on, got 2 screens to choose from, and apparently the void as well, because that's where it's at usually. I got like the last few sentences, because in my story there's a list of demands.
I once again have written a funny.
And I did too. I went comical. And I'm about to like put the like the punchline, the dun moment.
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta think. I gotta think of a list of demands and everything, and then at the bottom of the demand is the really moment. And yeah,
I'm actually quite excited about this. I'm gonna send it to you. I was reading through, I don't know if I was like physically like smiling, but I was like, tee.
Yeah, no, when I got my thing, you could go back on the screen. I'm like, it's like around maybe 20 minutes or less. I don't know. I know I sat down at 25 minutes and I was like, all right, I got to write. And I'm sitting here and I go, oh, yes, like I do this. I'm like, I know what I'm going to do.
I did get, I forgot that I had these, but I had toaster strudel and I put them in my air fryer for like 5 minutes.
Ooh.
And I just 10 out of 10 would recommend. I've been living from my air fryer.
It's a set it and forget it thing.
It really is. And it's like perfect every time. Got distracted by YouTube videos. Is mood, Shannon. Good medication reminder. Laura took her medication. And some puppy snuggles. Gotta love that. Nia always loses a mouse too. I think it doesn't. It's easier for me because I use the mouse while I'm writing. Because I was jumping back through and doing a little bit of editing. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's like where is everything? Or if you have 2 computers.
Yeah, and I got 2 screens going now. But I will click on my Word document, but then I forget that I clicked on my Word document as I'm typing through everything, because I should look here first, since that's the last place I clicked. I'm on it. But when I look up and I'm like, oh, we're done, I'm looking at the top and I'm waving my mouse around going, where is it? Oh, I just realized when I swirl it around, it gets big. I swirl it in a circle and then the mouse gets big and then goes small.
Oh, that's cool. Here's Bobby for everybody who's been wondering / worrying about him.
Yep, still alive. Okay, so by the way, my mouse doesn't do that unless it's the arrow. If it's the like, hey, you're ready to type symbol thing, doesn't do it. It's like, screw you, you're on your own.
Ooh, Laura, I like this. Watch a video about romanticizing your life when you don't feel your best. So soothing. Loved it. I have seen that, and I really like that.
Interesting.
Like,
it's almost like a meditation.
Yes. Have you seen videos by Jessica Kilgren-Frossard?
No.
Definitely would follow. 10 out of 10 recommend. She does a lot of like LGBTQ plus history, and is just all around a lovely person. And she's so pretty. She's like the most prettiest. And like literally you can pause her videos anytime she's talking, and
it's never pausing on.
Yeah, it always looks like just delightful.
Which is ridiculous, because like I'm editing my videos and I got moments of going like that. Like,
you're like, how's that even possible? I don't make that face. What do you mean? No, she looks just perfect every time. But she has a 1950s style of dress.
Yes.
And like, I think whenever I think about like romanticizing your life and making your life look the way that you imagine it does, that's who I think of, because I know like living the kind of like a picture book life is something that you put effort into, but also it should be fun. So if you think about like doing those activities that make you feel that way, that make your life look the way that you imagine it could, that it's like a form of self-care. And I just really like that. And yes, the air fryer, 10 out of 10. absolutely my best friend. Because y'all know I don't cook. So I guess I can't say that anymore because I have been cooking. But, oh, did you get my thingamajiggy? I sent it to you.
I'll check Gmail in a second. I remember to check the right email. Which I'm assuming I did. I just don't have it up because I'm trying to. It's like I said, I finally made the list, but now I gotta have my character react to the list, and that's the punch. Where's my Gmail?
Darling Desi is who I've been watching. I will have to check that out. She loves autumn and Halloween, but makes the most of every season. So that was one thing that I did this past year, especially for my sad. I think it's like whoever did that was petty. Making the acronym for seasonal affective disorder and actually using it, and the acronym is SAD.
Yeah.
That was rude. That was really rude.
Okay, I got yours. But what?
That's been the thing that I've done for myself, is doing those kinds of things, Laura, and making the effort to make my environment extra cozy during the fall and winter months, because that's when I tend to struggle. Got kitchen chores, had breakfast, and brewed coffee. I've been having, I guess, my toaster strudels for my breakfast, and I've got coffee too. So cheers. Wait, hold on. Let's try that again. Cheers. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have. I left you hanging.
Oh, you have a red can too.
Love it. It's Dr. Pepper. I usually don't drink soda first thing in the morning, but I was like, let's bring it on. This is my only source of caffeine, unless I want to do tea.
Fair.
Because I don't do coffee.
I haven't had Dr. Pepper in a while, but Dr. Pepper is my favorite.
I love it.
Laura is boiling a pot of oranges, cloves, and cinnamon sticks and nutmeg. My apartment smells so good. I want to do that. Also, mulled wine. So good. Okay, everyone's saying Darling Desi, and yes.
Watch these people.
Check out, both. I'm gonna have to watch Darling Desi. I have not seen their videos before, and definitely look up Jessica. Actually, while we're doing this, I'm just gonna grab a link to her channel and throw it in the chat, because sharing is caring.
Yep. Oh, also, chat. Hold on. So for those of you who don't know, I have a website, and I'm gonna pull a Richard. But there is a header option for newsletter on my website. And I will have a newsletter. I'm throwing my my website in the chat as I get distracted for a second.
The first link is for Jessica's channel, and then the second one is for Natalie's website. So you should go do the things.
Yes.
Also hit the like button.
But I suggest opening another tab. Please don't leave the stream.
Yeah. Stay with me. Ooh, now
Please don't leave us.
Now I want to watch Into the Woods again. I love that movie. Agony is such a good song. Like, I could just listen to that song over and over again, or watch that clip from the movie, because it's so extra. Ooh, also, so I know that Armie Hammer is like not a good person. Armie Hammer, he was in The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp.
I never watched that because the one, it didn't seem that good, but two, the stigma around it of the appropriation and everything. Which is, I mean, I think that's an example of how you can still work past stuff, because Johnny Depp was really controversial there, and now everyone's like on his side.
I wouldn't say everyone's on his side. I think there's a balance, but I also
feel like the majority is on his side.
That's fair. That's fair. I think everyone, like, without getting too much into it, I think everyone has some really great opportunities to just grow as a human.
Yeah, and it's kind of proof that in a moment it may suck, but give it time, and you're past it.
But
so either way, okay, back to the point.
That was the biggest name film I could think of that Armie Hammer was in before everything happened. But I don't know. There's like a bunch of stuff that came out about him and Marilyn Manson, and
is that part of Marilyn Manson getting sued?
I think so. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, but they were like friends. I guess I don't know the full story, but anyway, it came out that Armie Hammer was like essaying people and like into cannibalism, and it was the whole thing. Anyway, it's really annoying because he had actually 2 good movies come out that I wanted to watch, and one of them was Death on the Nile, and the other one was Rebecca, a remake of Rebecca, which I have I got like secondhand basically, so I could still watch it. And it's like, I feel really disappointed for the other actors in the movie because this one dude, like that was going to be a big deal for them. They were going to do really well, and now like basically they stopped doing any kind of publicity for those movies. They basically went straight to streaming services, and no one's really talking about them because the controversy came out before the movie. And it's really a bummer because I just read Death on the Nile, and I just read Rebecca. So I was like, "Ooh, I want to watch the movies for these." And that's when I found out he was in them. And I was just like,
it's unfortunate because like you make a movie and then it's like sometimes more than a year with
post-production and everything.
Yeah, post-production stuff of like editing, making the trailer, doing voiceovers because the mic on screen on set didn't pick it up, and stuff. Which, by the way, now because I know about voiceover acting, how they'll get people who imitate the actors to do the voiceover. Anytime I don't see an actor's mouth moving and they're walking away in a shot, but there's like you can still hear their voice, I'm thinking that's probably not them, because it's cheaper to hire the voice actor than to hire the actor to come into a studio and redo their lines. And it just it takes away
that. Or when you see the sound effect artists.
Oh, those I'm more impressed by. I'm not like, oh, this sucks. Like I'm impressed by the sound effect artist, and I'm like, that's legit. But then it kind of makes it, to me, it's kind of like grape flavor, where you're so used to grape flavor that when you get actual grapes, you're like, this isn't grape, and it's like, no, that's actually grapes. Like,
yeah. Well, so there's the voiceover artist. There's sound effect artists where like, they would be like, oh, that sound, like manually, artificially be like over here and like doing stuff. And it's like that sound, it's me scratching on my pop socket, but they'd use that for like someone like rustling some papers or something. And you're like, what?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites is
Scream artists.
I'm trying to think of what it's things, because everyone knows like the big metal sheet for thunder and stuff like that, or the sound. If you take that sheet and then put a bow or a saw across the side of it, that's the like Halloween sound, or like the something bad's gonna happen.
If you haven't watched it, look up how they did the sound effects for the movie Ratatouille, because it is crazy.
I am that person that I will watch all behind the scenes bonus footage for movies and stuff. Like, I want to see all the bloopers. I want to see like the making of
that one. And so how they did the sound for Ratatouille, and the scream artists for like Venom. Someone's actually like, when he's like coming off the bike, and that's that scene from the preview, that scream is a completely different person. And they show like how like they're like watching a clip and then like showing how he did the scream.
That's really funny because in Home Alone, when it was Marv, and then I'm trying to remember who the other one, the bandit was. But when he's laying down and the spider's crawling up him, and he's going, the filming of that he wasn't making a sound at all. He was going for filming because the sound would have scared the spider. And then he had to go back and do a voiceover to scream.
That is so funny. Also, Michael, samesies. Have you ever seen someone play the saw?
The saw?
Mm-hmm. You can actually play the saw like musically. So you bend the blade of the saw and you use a violin bow.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. It's really cool, but also kind of creepy sounding. But yeah, I think I say all that to say, it just really stinks when somebody, like a main front person for a movie, does something terrible, and then it's like way down the line, and it impacts all these other people who
put their jobs on the line and stuff. Like that's why. So She Who Shall Not Be Named. There's other people that worked on those movies and stuff, and though I will say that they got payment, but here's what sucks is that because a movie doesn't do well, it
does impact your ability to get other parts.
Yeah.
Especially for the smaller actors who haven't built up.
Exactly. And so I'm torn on that, but
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that. It just, I especially since I loved those stories and I liked a lot of the other people who were acting in it, I was just really bummed out to like.
Yeah. Though I did see something on the internet, and it was like, when you're worried about writing, I love it when people take published books and then like say, don't feel bad. And it was Slughorn saying Snape, but the way it said is Snape ejaculated Slughorn. And I'm like, legit? Yep.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Yes, the word does have other meanings, but sometimes the meaning of a word, a specific meaning of a word, becomes so pervasive that it becomes inappropriate to use it in other contexts.
Yeah.
And that's also like, that's the thing with words that are archaic.
Yeah, like, okay, I will use this example, and it's purely an example. I don't use this word, but when at all, but let's talk about the evolution of word real quick, just because I love this stuff. So the word faggot is supposed to mean a pile of wood, but it has become more, like you said, of it's got such a negative connotation that nobody now, I believe, ever refers to a pile of wood as that.
That's true. Or in Europe, where it's a cigarette.
Oh yeah, it's a cigarette. Which I'm trying to figure out how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and I mean that's another controversy that's come up with Lizzo and Beyonce having to go in and change song lyrics because it means something else somewhere
to another group of people. Like the word is yeah, that's fine. The word spaz, which actually was the nickname for one of my guy friends who actually had a Twitch that he would have, really, dogs, and we called him spaz. But that's I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago, and now
yeah. I mean, some things stick. The other, I don't know. There's just so many things about like different words and their usages, especially, I mean, we talked about this. That's why I collect dictionaries, because a lot of words are going extinct, or they're evolving.
Yeah, they're getting added in or taken out. Hold on 2 seconds. I got my daughter hovering.
So I think it's an interesting practice. Yeah, that word is accurate, but wrong sounding to use. And I think that, that is frustrating sometimes as a person, especially since I read a lot of like older literature and watch a lot of media that is older, like a lot of Turner Classic Movies and stuff.
Well, it's like, I mean, the word, I hate that all my examples are have become attacks on the LGBTQ plus community, but the word gay was happy.
Yeah. Well, especially when you listen to a lot of Christmas music and it's still in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was also a time where it like where people would be like, even when I was in high school, everyone would be like, oh, that's gay. And
Yeah.
I had a conversation with someone the other day and I was like, I feel like we should take that back and like make it a positive thing, because I know for such a long time, but I mean, before it was like happy and then it morphed into this really negative thing. And
yeah, it was like embarrassing. Like, you know,
yeah,
like, Mom, no, we're not going to have matching outfits for the Christmas photo.
yeah. Well, I think,
yeah.
I think that now though, if so, I would be like, oh, let's, but
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's still that large portion of the population who either doesn't want the word to evolve to something else, or they don't want it to be a positive thing, or, you know, people who do want it to be a positive thing, but then they, you know, it has divided meanings. And that's where it becomes really about the context and making sure that the context in which it's being used is not negative, really.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, now my mind's in the swirl of like the history of words and the evolution and everything. And it's interesting, which, I mean, you got to think about. Oh, I actually talked about this in one of my flashes, because I used a lot of kind of pertinent to this time slang. And I was like, this piece is not going to be timeless now, because the words, like, the words are kind of too tied to this as more of a zeitgeist of this time.
I will push back on that, because think about it this way. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know, historically speaking. We don't know how people did certain things because they didn't write about it.
True.
Because it was so obvious that no one would ever need to have it explained to them. So there's no written record of it. Versus when you write things in a certain way, people will be like, oh, in this time period, this would be a slang. Or watching Gilmore Girls and realizing there's a lot of cultural references that are specific to what was happening.
Oh, there's an entire TikTok of the person like explaining the cultural references. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so much darker than I thought.
Watching The Nanny, for me, where there's a lot of cultural references that were specific to the time. It's like, yeah, those things, those are specific to the time period, but it's not that it makes it not timeless. It just links it to other history of what was happening in the world at the time.
It's more of a historical snapshot instead of something that can easily fall off.
Yeah. And in the vein of words going extinct or their meanings changing, on dictionary.com, a lot of the times now it'll have, I think it's funny, I think it's ironic to me, but it'll have a part where it's like, you know, gives all the modern definitions, and then at the bottom it'll say archaic, and it'll give the definition of what it used to be.
The word archaic has almost a negative connotation.
I like the word. I'm like, oh, is that fancy?
Like, when we say something is archaic, it's usually not a compliment. Whereas if we call something vintage, it's like, oh, nice. You know, archaic is usually like lowbrow, simple. And it's really interesting that connotations of words are interesting. I like
that's
words.
Interesting. I've not heard it that way. I always like the word because it's like antique and archaic. It kind of goes together for me. But I also think it's funny.
And then, I mean, just as the word we mentioned before of the evolution of the word faggot, and how it's in Britain, it's a cigarette. And here it's a very horrible word. And it's just same thing with connotation. I think archaic is almost an insult, and you're like, antique and archaic, like, it's beautiful. It's a hand in hand melding and stuff. So it's interesting about the association and everything, because you and I are geographically separated. Like we both kind of grew up in the South. I grew up in Georgia, and everything, and I know you're in the South now, but then we still have those different upbringings.
So I think that you, like, in this area, I still hear a lot of words used a bit archaically, but also the demographic is a bit older. So, I mean, I guess it's changing now too, but in the areas where I've lived in the last probably 10 years, it was around a much older demographic. So I think a lot of the words that I did hear, especially my siblings and cousins are, approximately almost a generation older than I am. So
if it's more than 10 years, I think 10 years is like when things, because if you think about it, the 80s is totally different than the 90s, but yet there's a blending, like an ombre effect between the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Well, and then my grandparents were in their mid to late 70s when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I had that basically 3 generations of like culture and word usage and stuff like that. So a lot of the stuff that I'm like, no, that's not at all what that means. To me, a lot of times people are like,
but you got to be mindful of that. I'm not gonna talk about who, but like you'll know, but I just don't. I don't think they want me to call them out like this. So the person will stay anonymous. But they had a flash that I was reading, and there was the line "yanked," and I was like, I took it as like removed from the place it was, and they said yanked, and I made sure to make that in my comments. And so when I sent it back to them, they're like, I agree with like 98% of what you said. And then they came back in DMs on Instagram, was like, so I talked to a few other people, and apparently yank does have that connotation. I was not aware. That if you just use the word yanked by itself, you're thinking the item's removed, whereas the person was trying to convey that it was yanked, but it stayed in the place that it was. It wasn't removed.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that.
Yeah, and so that's why I think this talk is like so valuable, is to talk about words and connotation, whether it has a negative connotation or a positive connotation. Whether you, how does the majority infer the word to mean?
Well, so this is another one actually that came up because I grew up reading like King James version of the Bible, and there's a lot of stuff in there that you'd be like, oh. But especially I would say regarding disabilities and the way that they're described in the Bible, and the words that are used, it's like we would not where dumb used to mean that someone was not able to
speak
or being mute, or like there's a few different, and it's like we would not say that now. That would not be appropriate. But if you also don't know that meaning, the other potential meanings of something, reading a book of that age would not make sense.
Well, even let's take the Christmas song, Baby It's Cold Outside.
Oh yeah, that one's like
like you listen to it now and it's like, oh my God, rapey vibes. But at the time, it was a woman who wanted to be with this guy, but she knew society would speak, and that's what she's doing. She's trying to come up with all these reasons to say, and he's like, it's cold outside, and she's like, oh God, but what will the neighbors think and everything. And it was a like empowerment almost for women to kind of be able to branch out. But now we're like the society is like, remove it, but they're not thinking of when the song originally came out. But also there's books, like I remember The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn trying to get banned because
I mean, well, we can talk about this offline because I know we need to do our reading really quick and write our next flash. But I mean, Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in my area that relates to like canceling books and teachers not being able to have any books in their classrooms, and it is devastating.
Yeah, because I believe the moment you start removing, my belief is, no matter how harsh it is, no, how much it sucks, is that when you remove it and ignore it, if you ignore the history, you're doomed to repeat it because in your mind it's original.
Yeah.
At least
Well,
if you're aware of it, you can't claim ignorance.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me too is the like levels of I don't know if success is the right word, but I'm going to just use success in this term.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, just for kids, relates to how many books that they have in their home. That was part of why Dolly Parton started her whole program to get books to kids. It was why in Chicago they had a program for that where, you know, it was like the more books kids had access to, the less general trouble they got into.
Oh,
If you
wow.
think about that and them not having books in their home. I think that part was it was in Freakonomics that I had read, and they talked about a study in Chicago for that. But my point being, when if a lot of these kids, the only access they have to books is at school, and we're removing that access, like we got a problem, y'all.
Yeah.
We had a big problem. Anyway, we don't want to get too much into
So
that.
I'm going to read yours first.
Okay.
And then while you're reading mine, I'm going to type up the prompt because I've skipped a few prompts right before July. And so I'm going to use this time to get through it.
Okay.
To catch up. So at least it's already chosen, but we can still choose what we can try is choose a challenge that like has short amount of words. So
okay. Also, hi Phoebe, and thank y'all for
Yes.
humoring us for our deep intellectual discussion.
Whether you tuned us out or just walked away or something, we appreciate you keeping the stream on. All right. You looked. Okay, yeah. Here's Chandra's story read by me. You looked over the sand, gazillions of grains dusting the plains, he says. And then you say, have you ever seen anything so beautiful? It's a desert, Jerry, she said, smacking lotus pink lips as she chewed on a piece of juicy fruit gum. Carmilla? All right. Carmilla, I'm going for a certain feeling. Can you just go with the feeling? Jerry moved his hands in an especially Italian gesture. Really? Just Italian gesture. Then smoothed his dark hair out of his face and picked up the camcorder. He was sweating a lot, his movements frantic. Okay, action. Carmilla rolled her eyes. Aye, aye, Captain. She gave a sarcastic salute and flopped aimlessly onto the old couch in front of the soul box fan in the garage. Jerry put the camera down and tugged the bandana from around his neck. Carmilla, baby, I thought you wanted to be a movie star. Don't you want to be a movie star? Yeah, Jerry, I thought I'd be jumping out of a helicopter, leading a coup at a secret base, not sweating it out in the garage with you. She stretched, trying to make the most light breeze of the fan, make the most of the light breeze the fan struggled to produce. What do you want, baby? You want me to take you out, get you a taco after this? What do I have to do to get your head in the game? She sat up, indignance written all over her face. A taco? A taco? You think that's the problem here? That I need a snack? Why you gotta waylay me like that, Carmilla? I'm just trying to make a movie here. He interrupted her with a gentle.
I should say gentle tone.
Gentle tone. Okay. You're always. Thank you. You're always trying to be pensive or dapper or cosmopolitan. Always got to act like something you're not. I can't be out here trying to look like Cinderella, acting like I smell like fresh juniper while I'm sweating it out in filthy garbage. And you call yourself an actress, Jerry said. As soon as he said it, he knew who was wrong. It was the wrong thing to say. Whatever, Jerry, she said, making her way to the door. You smell like an asshole and you look like one too. I got my new comeback. Oh, that's good. The oh, so I did write this before. Sorry, I was making sure I flipped over. The Okay, that story was good. So the only thing that drew me back is that I feel like I'm trying to think of how to say this, and you know me, I never mean it on you. It's just critique.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking the coup at a secret base is the prompt, and you used it as a word instead of a prompt.
Mm.
And so that's the only part.
Using it as dialogue instead of as the prompt.
Yeah, instead of making it the theme. Like you always use the word, but you've actually still used the prompt as a theme,
Mm-hmm.
as part of the plot or whatever. But this time you didn't. It was just purely like just using the words.
Mm.
And so that's really my only main critique.
Mm-hmm.
And even then it's artistic license, it doesn't matter. Because I still love the story. The back and forth. I like the banter. I did get hung up. I think what could have done, and it also was probably me going back and forth, but the entire paragraph of you always trying to be pensive or dapper or cosmopolitan. I think because I got held up with a gentle tone, I
Mm-hmm.
forgot who was speaking that long line. And you did fine because in the next dialogue you have Jerry. You got Jerry said before and after that paragraph, but maybe either saying having an action of Camilla at the beginning of the paragraph of something she's doing, or
Mm-hmm.
having her do something in the middle.
Yeah, just
Because
because it's such a long.
yeah, it's a long thing, and I kind of forgot it was her speaking.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's really it. And you're starting to make me think that I forgot the word pensive in mine, and I'm pretty sure I did.
Whoops. I think that's good feedback about using the prompt as just like part of the dialogue.
Yeah. Well, and it's you can use it as dialogue. Use words. I mean, because you use the 10 words as part of
Mm-hmm.
the dialogue. It was just I've always we have not me specifically, but I've noticed we have always used the prompt as part of the plot or the theme or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. This is the first time it was just another word.
Yeah.
That was it. It's just I was and technically we never approached it that way. Um, so that was my only thing, and I recognize it could be more personal preference
Mm-hmm.
than that. So
Well, no, I think that's interesting too because I feel like we don't actually know what they're filming either.
true.
So I could easily clear that up by giving a little bit more information aside from that the first line.
Yeah,
Because I kind of was thinking like that they are filming a scene where it's like that, but also they're filming this in a garage and it's like very slapdash. So she's kind of like, this is what you said we were going to be doing. And we're in the
yes.
garage sweating it out. And this is ridiculous. And you sold it as this. And now here we are.
Like, and you could even play it up and be like, I thought on I was gonna be like a 5 minute walk away from the beach, uh, where I could spend my time after shooting, not still 3 hours from the coast, because the coup at the secret base was apparently your garage.
Right. Yeah. Something along those lines where it's really clear that what they're talking about is in fact the movie that they're filming, but
Yeah.
he's doing it in a with a camcorder in his garage, and it's really tacky. And she's just like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?"
it like if she makes it big, this is the talk show of like, what's the weirdest thing you did? Well, huh. And then they interview her and like, are you still dating him? Nope.
For sure not. Also, I like how my favorite part of writing this, if I could just say my favorite line, is when he says, you want me to get you a taco, like not tacos, but specifically a taco.
Like it's the solution, the key to
if the guy said, "Let me get you a taco," I'll be
like that's the every Snickers commercial of like, you're not you when you're hungry.
But also, if you're gonna take me to get tacos, you're gonna take me to get tacos.
Yeah, you better not limit. You don't tell me the quantity I have.
It's like, otherwise I'm just like, dude, I can get my own tacos. I don't need you to give me a taco. I would be so mad. But we know that I like to eat, so.
Right.
Let me read your story while you get the prompt for us.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. The helicopter swirled gazillion specks of sand into the air, creating a perfect circle beneath the chopper. To anyone else, this would appear like a desolate desert surrounded by mountains. Each mountain had a few caves, but one cave in particular was an entrance to a top-secret class Lotus government agency base. Captain Carver and Colonel Gibson exited the bird. The captain stayed hunched with a clipboard in one hand and keeping his hand pressed over his flight cap with the other. Colonel Gibson stood tall as he led the way to the cave. A man in a red bandana met the pair just in front of the steel doors. Considering tensions were known to be high, it was no wonder the captain looked ready to defend himself with someone waylaying him at his base. Though that is what they were here to do. Talk with the members of the coup to discuss how to solve this fiasco before higher leadership had to brief the president of the coup in the first place. Red Bandana led the negotiators to a central room where a juniper tree grew under electric lights. There was a spread of tacos, but as the captain reached for one, the colonel shook his head, causing the captain to pull back. Finally, a gold-banded person entered the room with a few red bandanas. In silence, he passed a paper to the officers. The colonel took the paper as the captain tried to peer over his shoulder. It was a list of demands: a skylight, fresh water, central heating and air conditioning, fresh fruits and vegetables regularly delivered, name brand peanut butter. The colonel shook his head as he tossed the paper to the captain. The skylight will take some time for the construction, but we can contract the fresh water, fruits, and vegetable deliveries, the colonel said, placing his hand on his hips. His demeanor changed. Are you telling me you only had generic peanut butter this whole time? The bandana group nodded. This is what happens when we go lowest price instead of quality, he said quietly to the captain. I'd be mad about the off-brand peanut butter too.
Dude, my husband is serious about it, and I tried it once, switched, and I was like, okay, you're right. And this was like years ago at the beginning of our relationship. Because he bought generic stuff, but never peanut butter. And I'm like, what the hell? You always want to save. And he goes, no. You do not get generic peanut butter. It spreads differently and stuff like that.
It's not right. Don't be doing that. It's nope. Also, you got to mix it like so much. Mm-hmm. And it still just never comes out right. I'm just making... So there's a couple things I noticed, and sometimes I think it works, and other times it's like a little bit poppy. Mm-hmm. Like here, the colonel shook his head, causing the captain to pull back. I would think like, I don't know. I think maybe this is stylistic because when I hear causing, it makes me think of like those not perpetual motion things, but you know where you set up the dominoes and then it like if you watch a ball. That's
Causation versus correlation. And
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it makes me think, and that part was a little distracting. So even to say the colonel shook his head.
So it would be not causing. It would be like Colonel shook his head, and the captain felt it best to pull back or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like something like that. The captain noticed and pulled back his hand.
There we go.
Or even instead of saying the colonel shook his head, to reframe that sentence, so we're still looking at it from the captain's perspective of the captain reached for one of the tacos, but noticed the colonel shaking his head and pulled back.
There we go.
So because it's not head hopping, but it almost comes across that way just because of the way it's phrased. I don't know. That might be a stylistic preference, but that's kind of where I was a little bit jarred. I did like the use of like the bandanas, but I was also confused about this part.
Oh, let me scroll to.
The captain and the colonel, they're negotiators.
Yeah.
So they've already been sending supplies to this coup.
No. So it was a base, and then they kind of revolted. And so now they're coming in to try to fix it as like fixers type situation.
Okay.
But everyone's gonna live. Not that type of fixer. Because they came, like they were sent immediately when this came to fruition, and so higher ups are going to brief the president, but they're hoping to brief the president, hey, this happened, we've already handled it, and now here's the plan.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, so what I thought was I was confused. I was like, the way it was worded, I was confused. I'm like, why are they helping these people if they're throwing a coup? Like, why are you just like giving in to their demands so easily? So I was confused. That I was like, wait, are they leading the coup? I don't know what's happening. So okay, that makes more sense because I didn't quite pick up on that.
Yeah,
they're like, here, y'all are upset, understandably, because we've been kind of skimping on what y'all have.
And you're in the middle of nowhere,
and we could do better, and we can get you some real.
We haven't been taking care of you.
That's fair. That's fair. I also like what Michael said, and I think this is more of a, hey, talk to us like we don't know nothing about how the colonel outranks the captain. Is that the case? I really don't know.
Yeah, colonels outweigh captains, but I will admit I made the captain more inept than captain should be. But it just, I think that's sometimes when we have to change things slightly so that the story is more open to a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just did colonel and captain and had the captain good, only probably military people or people who are fascinated with the military or watch a lot of those military movies would know the structure and that a colonel outweighs a captain. Other people wouldn't, but by making the captain inept and kind of looking to the colonel and going, oh, never mind, I'm not having a taco, I feel that perpetuated stuff. But
and that wasn't what I thought at all either. Because of the way I was reading this, I thought that he was like, don't do that, they might be trying to poison you.
Well, a little bit of that too, but he was looking, because even I try to do it at the beginning, where the captain's all hunched over and holding the stuff and holding his hat on because the helicopter, whereas the colonel's just walking like, let's go, like he's done this before.
Oh, see, no, I didn't pick up on any of that, and maybe I don't know.
Yeah. I was trying, but that's why you put when it and for anybody when you're trying to convey a power structure, don't just go off of title naming and you. It would kind of suck if I just said, and the colonel outranks the captain, so you had to listen to him. Like that kind of draws you back. But by giving multiple scenarios because you don't know which one's going to connect with your reader, and two, that way you're showing instead of telling, and it will up your word count if you're an underwriter.
So I guess that's my thing. For me, I didn't pick up on any of that. I actually took it more as like this is characterization of their personalities.
Oh no, I wasn't trying to create a Gomer pile. I was just trying to create somebody who
I didn't even take it. I took it more of him being like idiosyncratic, where like he's just quirky and fun and like I didn't, yeah, so that was how I took it, and I would be like, I also thought of it like, you do see a lot of times people getting out of helicopters, and like there's always somebody who's ducking, and I was like, are the blades warped? Like I don't understand.
That's the thing is that technically most people don't have to duck whatsoever with helicopters, unless you're like extremely tall, but you're not taller than a helicopter usually. Now, I don't recommend jumping. Just throwing that out there. But someone who's been around a helicopter, they know how much wind power it will take to knock off their hat or something, and or they just don't care. And I felt the colonel was at that level of just not caring.
That's funny. I'm glad Michael asked that because it did not. Or I'm glad that Michael said that because I didn't pick up on any of that. So, but we all like there's some things I just don't pick up on. So that was good. I like that, and yeah, that one part that did trip me up. I feel like there was one other thing that I was gonna say, but yeah, I think the other thing was just stylistic, but I made some little alterations, which I'm sure you saw. And but yeah, that's. Oh, also, I've got to say this one more time, but name brand peanut butter.
Yeah, legit. If we learned anything from this story, don't skimp on peanut butter. Get the name brand.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
All right. So I have the prompt ready.
Okie doke. We are ready for it.
Switching over to prompt number 2. A child's dream literally comes true.
Ugh. How am I going to do that?
The words to include are high school, captivate, portfolio, argyle, witness, fertile, or fertile, depending on how you pronounce it. Actually, yeah, whatever. Eyebrows, pentagram, thirsty, guidance.
Will you drop that in the chat for me?
Oh, yeah. Hold on, let me copy. Doop.
I'm kind of laughing when I look at like the tiles of like what it's like what you should watch next. And one of the suggested videos for me is from Ask a Mortician. And it makes me giggle because it's like, now, if you had any questions about what my FBI agent is forced to endure.
Oh, bless him.
Do we have to watch this at 10 o'clock at night? Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
Okie doke. Let me share this screen for the timer. Oh, also my dog is back here yodeling because she wants me to give her breakfast and it's not time yet. But I was like, do you want to go OUT? And she was like, also no.
Yeah,
All
my
right.
dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's bring it on.
We will begin in 3, 2, and 1. I'm not finished yet. I'm so close. So I need 2 seconds.
I'm close as well. I'm also heading in. I got 2 words that I'm like, I don't know. Actually, technically 3. But I think I got a way to get them in there at the last bit. But this one was actually very moving for me. And I hope I went a little artsy with it. Oh, wait, I wasn't filling in there. And I'm actually doing a throwback to what I wrote earlier in it, so I had to scroll back and be like, how old was my character this?
Oh,
It's interesting. It's weird.
I have to run my sprints on my Discord group, but leaving this up for... Thank you.
Thank you, dear.
Friends. We'll see you later.
Yep.
I'm like... I feel like if I don't write this like last little bit, it won't make sense.
It will be lost forever.
It will also be lost forever. But I don't know if it's too vague.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. Lots of dead air, but I'm almost done.
If anything, it's ASMR typing at this point.
There we go.
With my son speaking in the background every now and then. I think today will be a summary.
Yeah, because I got to hop off of here.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can let me read yours first, and then I'll hop off and you can read mine.
Okay. That works.
Okay, it's done. Paste yours in, and I will read it.
All right.
I wrote a lot. It definitely needs to be refined, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be touched up. I wrote 698 words.
Holy hell, dude.
It definitely needs to be touched up.
Yeah, we can work on that.
I think I've got the gist of the story down.
I can't get out.
You can't get out?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, now you can.
Woohoo.
Okay, I went a little. I feel like I went artsy on this. I don't know. I'm still trying to decide if it's good or not. Okay. Are you doing the same? Yeah, you did. All right, here's prompt 2. Okay. Copy and paste. Story.
I just did that thing with the mouse that we were talking about.
Uh-huh.
I read that. Okay.
All right, mine's on there. I will go on mute.
Here we go.
I got you.
High school had ended, not just for the summer, but forever. Caroline began the ritual of ridding her room of all things school-related. All those mandated assignments, late-night papers, tests with one arguable question that she knew she was still right on. Mood. None of it mattered. She graduated and was leaving in 2 weeks for freshman summer program at her new college, a place where she could be captivated how best learned self-study. I'm not clear.
Captivated by how she best learned self-study.
Gotcha. Today she got rid of all things high school and would begin to pack for college. There was no way to witness or provide guidance for her as she had been emancipated. There was no one to provide witness for or provide guidance for her as she had been emancipated from her parents 2 years already. After throwing away her two-dimensional penned snapshot of high school, she began to pack her things for storage and to take to college. Clothes went to college, keepsakes to storage. Caroline got distracted when she stumbled upon her childhood art portfolio. Raising an eyebrow, she began to turn the pages. Age 5 was stick figures with hands, a family of a mom, dad, herself, and a dog. Age 7, just a dad and a little girl, Fuller. Age 9 was a series of land and cityscapes, each with a small circle showing a small apartment in high rises, a room over a garage next to a big house. All pictures had an overcast sky. At age 11 were a series of self-portraits and no family. Most were close-ups, showing bruises and cuts, but a few were Caroline in different scenes, one sleeping on a park bench, the other in front of a black-robed figure, another in a grocery store, alone, eyes blacked out. Age 13 was even more obscure. Random items littered each page, brushes and combs on one, Caroline's fingers instinctively ran through her long hair, a page of socks, even one being argyle matching
the socks that she was currently wearing.
Gotcha. Kitchen utensils collaged on another page, and boxes were stacked on the last page. Age 14 only had 2 pages, but there were pictures on the front and the back, both. A pair of black and gray realistic hands from 2 different people touched. On the back, a tiny third hand had joined the pair. The other page was filled with color, but of a bookshelf with over 100 books. None of the titles could be seen, almost like a surrealism pastel. On the back was a black-robed figure, more detailed and improved form, the one Caroline had drawn at age 7. The face was unseen, but the pentagram necklace was clear, a sign for fertility. The same necklace Caroline had on at this moment. Caroline put all the pictures back into the portfolio, carefully placing it in the box for college, along with dusty sketchbooks. The dust made her cough and realize she was thirsty. Leaving her box behind, she walked to the kitchen of the loft. The box labeled law school sat ready to move when she did. Ooh. I don't know. I feel like this is a good backstory. Like, I want more.
Yeah, like it seems like a chapter 1 or a prologue or something.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I do have to go, but I know we'll talk more about this at a later point in time. But I'm definitely a fan of this one.
And I shall read yours, and you'll be able to watch it on the rewatch. Just remember about, God, normally we have a time frame. There's normally a time frame on how far we are in. But we're roughly, just imagine, 2.5 hour mark.
Okie doke. Yeah, 2 hours, 24 minutes.
Yep, there we go.
I'll see y'all later.
Bye, dear.
Bye.
Okay, I shall read Chandra's story now. All 600 some odd words of it because she's amazing at writing. She wanted this ever since her older siblings entered high school. One glimpse of imagery had been enough to captivate the fertile young mind. She couldn't stop thinking about it. At first, it was just a fantasy, something she wasn't sure was possible. But when she saw the news broadcast, she started to think there might be a chance. The satanic panic was more than just a dream. It was real. The news said so. Always a strange child, she looked through windows as she walked home from school. Some of the other children must have noticed the girl in the sweater that was just a little too large for her. They didn't know that there was a portfolio of imagery in that girl's head that didn't belong in a child's mind, but there it was in hers. And Valerie didn't tell anyone about it. She was half certain she was never going to tell anyone about it till she got caught. It was while she was looking in a window, her school teacher's window no less. Miss Blossom had drawn a pentagram on her floor using white powder, and Valerie was so thirsty for guidance that she'd forgotten to move when Miss Blossom began to turn around. By the time Valerie thought better of it and decided to move, she found she could not. Her feet were rooted to the ground. Miss Blossom lifted one perfectly arched eyebrow, then quirked her finger at the child. Valerie began to move, her feet involuntarily taking small, shuffling steps towards her teacher's front door. Valerie, Miss Blossom said, we should not be looking in windows now, should we? The girl shook her head, but didn't say anything. There should have not been a witness of this ceremony. Now you must join me. Valerie nodded. How could she say this was what she had wanted? A moment where a child's dream literally comes true. And she was the lucky child. First, you must remove your shoes, the woman said. The child obeyed. Valerie was good at that, always obeying. But then she said something rather forward, perhaps even a bit presumptuous. When we finish your spell, will you help me do one for me? Miss Blossom smiled, chucking Valerie under the chin with a manicured finger. I'm so glad you asked. I would be delighted to teach you. Oh, okay. So we got it. All right. When they had completed the first chant, Valerie was surprised by just how tired she felt, but she was eager to keep going. Her dream was now so close to her grasp. It was time to begin her spell, the one she so desired. When the deed was done, she had to sit for a while before she could make her way home. Miss Blossom shut the door behind her as she went. Valerie's body was bent and misshapen now, and she had to hold the black iron railing as she walked down the cement steps. The flaking paint prickled her delicate skin, and she began to bleed. She wrapped her cut fingers in the soft fabric of her shirt. Her sweater, now too small, stretched awkwardly across her chest and shoulders. The sleeves rode up on her arms, revealing wrinkled wrists and hands. It must have been strange to a passerby to see a stooped old woman wearing ill-fitting children's clothing walking down the street just a little after 4 o'clock. She held a child's purse, too, her feet bulging out of children's shoes. The shirt she wore now held the argyle of a family that had not been there before. Valerie opened the door with confidence of someone who knew the house was empty. She had stepped out of her shoes, wriggled out of the too small shirt, and tossed it in the fire. No one knew what happened to the family that lived in the house, or where the old woman came from, only that she must have been related to the missing family. Her granddaughter and namesake was never found, but the old woman took great comfort in spending time with her granddaughter's teacher, Miss Blossom. Miss Blossom counted Miss Valerie as a dear, dear friend. Ho ho! Chandra! Okay. Lot to unpack because of the story, not because of errors. I love this. I fully understood that a child pretty much became an old woman. I do find it interesting that her dream was to become that old. I didn't get that vibe at all. Like why she got that old. and everything. Maybe if you had like always a strange child, she looked through windows as she walked from home from school. She was half certain she was never going to tell anyone about it till she got caught. Had a portfolio in her mind, like what, maybe that's a good place to put in, like she felt she had been on this earth longer than she had, and then you could plug in her age or something like that. Like it was, she's an old soul, and she feels almost like time has slowed down from her or gone back in time by her having to be a child to get to where she wants. Like she feels like it could be kind of an identity crisis situation already. Something that stood out to me was Miss Blossom doing the work and said, hey, this spell can't have any witnesses. And I'm thinking, then why is your blinds open or whatever? Maybe at least have the blinds like, or curtains drawn, but maybe there's like a little sliver for Valerie to look through. And that's when Miss Blossom catches her. Like at least show that Miss Blossom gave an effort to make sure there was no witnesses, not just blatantly open, then getting mad at someone looking through the window. Of course, I'm not advocating people look through the window, but you get what I'm saying. Like show that she did something. The part that I was confused on, it was Valerie asking, when we finished your spell, will you help me do one for me? One, the wording's great because a child would say that. Two, I wasn't clear that it was Valerie saying that. So if you don't mind just clearing that up a bit, and actually having Valerie said or whispered or like meekly said, or and though I do find it's interesting that she wasn't able to move her feet, but she's able to shake her head and speak. So I just need some clarity of how much control Miss Blossom has over Valerie's body, or if she felt the control leave before she was able to start helping Miss Blossom. But yeah, I really want to know why Valerie wants to be older. It almost seems like she's much older than Miss Blossom too, as well as I do like that the dream for her was more than just her getting older. It was also getting rid of the family. So that was interesting. And I actually kind of don't mind that they're gone. I don't know. I feel like I want to know why she wanted her family gone. Like, was it because it was a complication, or was it a situation of I'm trying to think how to say it. Was it a complication, or was it a situation of abuse or something from the family? But yeah, and then it's confusing by nowhereing it ends. The beginning's confusing now. Of she wanted this ever since her older siblings entered high school. The one glimpse of imagery had been enough to captivate the fertile young mind, and she couldn't stop thinking about it. What does her siblings going to high school have to do with becoming older and ridding of the whole family? First, it was just a fantasy, something she wouldn't be sure was possible. Maybe this is where we could expand it. At first, it was just a fantasy that she would indulge when she was left home alone. Then we get a little bit more idea of her mindset. No. So, Michael, the way I got it is, for anybody who's watching on the rewatch. So Michael asked, so in the end, time itself moves forward many years. It's my understanding time didn't move forward, but the girl aged forward and her family disappeared. So, but yeah. but when she saw the news broadcast, she started to think there might be a chance. Okay, and that's when she started looking into Satanism and was hoping. Oh, I will say with the pentagram, if it's satanic, please make it an upside down pentagram, because 2 points at the top and everything, because that's satanic, whereas 1 point at the top and 2 at the bottom is actually a symbol of fertility. But yeah, those are my just few cents of clearing up when Valerie speaks, how much control Miss Blossom has over Valerie, or can Valerie like feel the control dissipate, but she doesn't want to leave, and then kind of clearing up the beginning, like what is Valerie's drive, and everything, like give a hint of the fantasy that I play out when I'm home alone. Okay, what do you mean? And it's that she is alone. She enjoys it. So anyway, those are my points. Hopefully they're helpful. Thank you everybody in the chat for coming in. I know we went a little bit long, and I look forward to next week on Chandra's channel for Flash Fiction Live. So I'll catch y'all later. Bye, dear.